Welcome to On Target, your go-to podcast to lead, love, and live. As Central Region unapologetically serves all mankind. Here's your host, Kiana W. Davis, Central Regional Director for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Well, welcome. And I am excited to be here with you on our launch of Team Ready's podcast, On Target, serving Central and all mankind. This is a monthly podcast in which will allow us to explore, community leaders while illuminating our collective mission. And yes, this is a collective forum that, while sorority focused, it will be accessible to members and non-members because we believe we want you connected regardless of who you are to the right information through the lens of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so we want to always be on target, focused with the critical issues that are really impacting me and you. Everything we must do must be done with clear focus and purpose. And so during our podcast, we will focus on 3 segments. It will be a lead segment, a love segment, and a living segment. And I'm just excited to be able to bring to you in those 3 focuses those 3 items: lead, love, and live. And so today's episode, we're going to talk about intentionality of everything, right? Intentionality in leading, in loving, and living. And I'm telling you, we have some great guests that are going to come on the podcast after we have this intro, and you will learn a lot. I mean, we some bad mama jammas out there. And so I think once you know that people are doing the good work, you'll be able to be connected with the right information that through the lens sometimes of cultural competency. And so before we get started, we want to take a moment to let you know how to subscribe to On Target, where you can listen to it on your favorite podcast. You can also go and click the link at aka1908.com/central if you need just a quick link to all of our podcasts, which will come out monthly. And so I'm excited to have you. Thank you for joining me on this journey as we are on target, illuminating all things that are confident and captivating throughout Central Region, where we are unapologetically Central.
Congratulations on becoming the Central Region, smile, because this is amazing, Central Regional Director for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated during your silver year. How iconic for you, right?
It is. It really is. And I didn't plan it that way, right? I didn't plan it at all, but it just so happened. And so just celebrating in 2022, just the privilege of leading over almost 9,000 active members of Alpha Kappa Alpha here in Central Region, and also being a active member, now a life member, right?
Yes.
Inside our sorority, serving for 25 years, ever since undergraduate at Tall Chapter at Indiana University.
So, describe the past 6 months. I know they've been up, been down, been grueling, been happy as you prepare for this role and prepare to take Central Region to new heights.
That's interesting because I think people have an idea of what this role is. And until you get into the role, right, everything that's coming at you. But I think that I have been prepared for this. I have led in my career thousands of people. And so you learn to manage all of the things coming at you. And that's really intentional leadership. But I will tell you that whatever anyone thinks that this role is, scrap that, times it by 100. And Because one, we're volunteer based, right?
Yeah.
You're leading an organization of brilliant, I mean, absolutely brilliant women, but it's volunteer based. And that's the magic and the beauty of all of this, that through our love for one another, through our sorority, through the love of all mankind, we come together. And we've come together over 114 years to really be a force in this world of positive change. So I'm excited. I won't tell all of the good or the bad, but just know that whatever you thought this role was, scrap that or times it by 1,000. Absolutely. But it's been a good journey, a wonderful journey. And I think for me, the beauty of it is to see other people come alive.
Mm.
It's amazing to see people excited about the sorority, about our region. And for me, that's what keeps me going as a leader. And so the members, my sisters, have been so wonderful, so gracious, and I am just grateful to be able to serve.
Yeah. And just attending the team ready meetings and just being there and taking in all of the energy of this sisterhood, I felt that one of our initiatives even being strengthening our sisterhood, and leadership development, and you felt that you were at a course of leadership development while you're there, right?
Yes.
But it was just the warmth and the energy of everyone. I think that you were very intentional in how you brought everyone together.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. And having courageous conversations.
Yes.
And conversations that led to developing new relationships, meeting those that you've never met before. So you could tell through the weekend that you were very intentional. So
yes.
For you, what is intentional leadership?
You have to be deliberate, and you have to understand what your end game is. I think throughout my life, and I would implore anyone who is moving from that idea of doer to someone who wants to lead, that leadership is about the design. It really is about, how do I move from being the doer, right? The exceptional employee, the exceptional sorority sister, the exceptional volunteer, and move to, instead of an individual contributor where you are probably exceptional at, leadership takes on a different element, because now you are the designer. You have to look at everything and all the resources and tools you have in front of you and design it in such a way that you have eliminated the barriers for other people to show their brilliance. And I think in leadership, for me, that's intentionality. So I'm intentional about the design. I'm intentional about putting the plan together, the processes together. I want to make sure that the brilliant one in the room can be brilliant at doing what they do best, because my skill set as a designer is really to design and get out the way.
I like that. Design and get out the way.
Design and get out the way.
In my home, we live by this saying, this mantra. In life, there are no mistakes, only lessons.
Yes.
So what courageous lessons have you learned in leadership?
I think, that's a hard one. Courageous lessons. I think one of the most important lessons really is that I can't be the know-it-all, right? And that lends to understanding really intentional leadership. And when I was younger, right, you're the energetic doer, you know it all, and we confuse that with leadership. And I remember being on my first job. It was at Motorola in Schaumburg, Illinois. And there was a senior vice president. I was, of course, in accounting. And I served in the international accounting department, where I served China and Africa and India. And so I just thought I had it going on, right? I'm solving issues because now technology is coming out, and I was really reared in college with some of this blossoming technology. So I came in with my chest puffed out. I knew it all. And it took a gentleman, his name was Steve Monaco, and I will never forget him. And he saw something in me, but he knew I was a little, I had a little milk around my lip. I was a little young, and he pulled me to the side and said, "You're going to go somewhere, but what you're going to have to learn is don't always show that you're the smartest person in the room, right? Your job at this level is to help the leader who's, of course, at that time, I didn't understand the concept of design, right? To get them and get the vision to the next level. And so I had to have kerfuffles with coworkers because, I thought I was the smartest thing in the room. And I think for me, having that conversation and really having someone I trusted as a mentor who then became an advocate for me in leadership really helped set my understanding of this journey of leadership. But this journey was not without its headaches. And of course, relationships at the coworker level were strained because, here I am, the know-it-all, woman out there, and not really understanding collaboration. But, that was almost 30 years ago. I could say that almost 30 years ago. And I've learned my lesson. And that's why I'm intentional about leadership.
Yeah. What was the one thing that you did to pivot from having that courageous conversation to coming back to work the next day in your heels and with your bag saying, let me switch things up a little bit?
I know it was.
That's just so important because everyone goes through that.
It is. But I think what we need are people who are going to be mentors, who are going to be sponsors, who are going to be advocates for us, whether it's in your job, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the sorority, right? We think these things don't matter in the sorority, but they do. And learning to understand who is what to you. And I think I had never had what I define now as a true mentor. And then to understand that this gentleman who was a white older gentleman saw something in me. And what he said to me, he didn't say it, now we know the terms as advocates and sponsors, but he was at tables that I would not be invited to, but my name would be spoken.
Yeah.
And so that was pivotal to me. And that's when I understood and got serious about this thing called leadership.
Yeah. Awesome.
I love it.
We're all grown up now.
Yeah. I know, 30 years later. I mean, this is a deep discussion.
It's turning into that, but it's good. It's good. And in the spirit of deep conversations and confidence, I have a quote here. And it just resonated with me that I want to share with you. That Judith Barkwith says that real confidence comes from knowing and accepting yourself, your strengths and your limitations.
Absolutely.
In contrast to depending on affirmations of others. So how do you process accepting yourself to encourage and uplift members and others in the community?
That's good. I think in this quote, the idea of accepting yourself is powerful. And for those who might be younger than I am, and I am sure for the folks who are my age or older can really resonate with this, the idea that as you get older, you develop a level of confidence, right? You develop I've been there, I've done it, and I have nothing to prove. And I think you get to a point where you understand who you are, and you not only are okay with that, but you celebrate it. You celebrate who you are. And particularly for African American women, as we go through our careers, family, community, I think sometimes we feel like we always have to prove ourselves. But there will be a time, I would say, that you feel like I don't have to prove myself. And I'm okay with me and what I bring to the table and what I can't bring to the table. And I'm not embarrassed to say what my opportunities are, because I don't like to say deficiencies, opportunities are. And so I believe in uplifting people in the community by accepting them for who they are. I always say this, and Karen, you've heard me say this. I don't hold people accountable for anything they never signed up for. Right. And so when you are your authentic self, you can sign up for what you authentically can do. And don't try to push the envelope on things that you can't do. Because even in life, when you start promising people things that you can't deliver, although in your heart you want to, but you just don't have the skill set to do that, it leads to disappointment. It actually leads to conflict. And so I believe in uplifting community and community leaders by accepting people for who they are and holding you only accountable for what you signed up for.
Because you said you would do it.
You said you would do it. And until we have that conversation saying you can't do it, my expectation is that you're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What advice would you give to new leaders or those that aspire to move towards leadership?
Yeah, I support another leader. Right?
Yeah.
My husband happens to be a pastor of a church. And so I see this very intimately with parishioners, lay people, and everyone has leadership abilities. But I think sometimes we want to skip, like I was the young, feisty 20, 21-year-old at Motorola. We want to skip the let me learn and do, let me be mentored to I'm ready to lead the whole pack. And there are true lessons to be learned by going through your process. And I think if you are an aspiring leader, especially in community organizations such as Alpha, Kappa, Alpha, help another leader lead.
Yeah.
See what they go through and develop that level of trust where they will give you some insight on what it takes to truly lead. Because I think a lot of people see leadership as, she's on the dais, she gets to speak, she wears nice clothes. That's not leadership. That leadership is doing the hard work when we are up at 2:00 at night trying to put the plan together. True leadership is motivating people when, there's some bad news at the table. Leadership is making tough decisions. And I think sometimes we don't see that in action. And so if you are aspiring to be a leader, help someone else, that's leading. And believe me, if you develop that level of trust and relationship, they'll show you. They'll show you.
And being a problem solver.
Absolutely. Being, me, I believe in being a problem solver. Do not come to the table with complaints. Come to the table being a problem solver. Let's be focused about this.
Yeah. With a few solutions.
With a couple. A plan A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Yes. We will have a plan for it. Become solution minded. People ask me, well, how's your day? And I always say, you know what? If I complained about it, it wouldn't change nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to look at life like that, right? Like some things, even if, you want to mope around, it wouldn't change anything. And so you kind of move along, you see what you can do, you readjust, you reprioritize, and so we can move on.
Excellent.
Yes.
So as we wrap up,
look at Karen's face. If you can, I wish your listening audience on podcast can see Karen's face, right? She's looking at me like, I know you have some more stuff.
Well, we're gonna hold that. We have a whole season.
I love it.
So as our ancestors taught us, it takes a village.
It does.
And when we talk about you being newly minted, regional director for Central for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, who is your village? Who are those are you going to help lead and those help you lead?
First of all, my family. I know that sounds cliche. However, I really have a very supportive husband, Reverend Jerry Davis III, pastor of Crossroads AME Church in Indianapolis, Indiana. I know, absolutely. And I could not do what I do without a supportive husband. He's very supportive. My mom, I tell people when I started my journey of entrepreneurship, I was talking to my mom. She overheard me say, "Oh, I'm going to get a nanny because I'm moving around a lot of late hours, trying to build what my vision is and my dream is." And she heard me say that. You know how grandmas are. Oh, ain't nobody raising my grandkids and my babies. And so she retired and moved in with us. And I'm telling you, she doesn't skip a beat. Making sure that things are definitely okay at home. So I want to give a shout out really to my husband, to my mom, to my sister, who is also a member of the sorority, who really is my right and left hand gal in AKA in church and all things sisterhood. And I love it. And so when we talk about my immediate village and what really gave me the confidence to like, this is the time, right? My village allowed me. But I will tell you, my extended village is really my chapter here in Indianapolis and Chi Omega. I will tell you, my chapter blows me away with their love and their care of not only me but its leaders. We have such a generous heart that focuses on radical hospitality, and we want people to feel like they belong. And really, when you look at my essence, part of that through the sororial lens, it was birthed through 18 years of that process of building a chapter, right? That was intentional about not only leadership, but the support of leadership. So I can name a lot of people out there. I would say I call them my sister chapter, Alpha Mu Omega chapter. These are the sorors who watched me grow in AKA all the way from 1997. And so when you are nice and kind, and when you're doing the good work of the sorority or any organization, the true village comes out and they support you. And these are the women who have always supported me and always have had my back.
Awesome. Leadership. Your leadership journey in one word.
Can I get 3?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I love it.
I know. I'm being greedy now.
Bonus. It's a bonus.
My leadership journey, fair, focused, and fun.
Nice. Fair, focused, and fun.
Yes.
Gotta have fun.
You got to have fun, right?
Yeah.
People want to know they're doing this, especially in the volunteer organization, that at the end of the day, where we have done all the good work, the hard work sometimes, and we're sweating. Don't believe, we're pretty girls who wear 20 pearls, but we are working, and we've done it for such a long time that we want to make sure we have fun. And that really falls in line with our international program under the leadership of Danette Anthony Reed, our international president and CEO of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, that we follow her lead because she has such a heart in this area of sisterhood and service. And so we're ready to soar here in Central Region. And really here we have promoted the first 100 days with this idea of sisterhood being a mantra.
Absolutely. Well, it was an honor chatting with you on the first episode of On Target. This has just been a really great day, and I can't wait to get started with your next guests, because when it comes to love and when it comes to living, our next 2 segments, I think everyone's going to be blown away. They're really going to enjoy the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for being here with your expertise, Karen Vaughn. And I'm telling you, if you have not heard her on the radio, I think you stream online, even if you are not here locally in Indianapolis with Radio 1. You're on a couple dials, right?
Well, 106.7 WTLC. Check me out Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I also oversee the new Hot 100.9, AM 1310 The Light, La Grande 105.1, and Telemundo Indy.
I hope you guys heard that, right? She just, and she did it like, oh, this is no big deal. This is a big deal. We have, Radio 1 in person here with us, who is helping us lead in this podcast. She helped put this together, and I am so grateful. This is the greatness of our sorority, right? Like, we have powerful women who are really impacting in different areas of community, of politics, work. I'm telling you. So Radio One here, you heard all of those dials. That was a lot. And so tune into one of them to check out Miss Karen Vaughn on the radio. She is absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. See, it's the strengthening the sisterhood.
Strengthening the sisterhood, strengthening leadership development,
Yes.
leading with intention.
Yes.
Well, during this segment, we have with us Nadia E. Miller. We want to recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I thought it was vital for us to have someone that can speak on this topic who's on the front lines firsthand when it comes to prevention. So we want to welcome the co-founder of Pink Forever, Nadia E. Miller, who is Pink Forever is a movement among the minority community to dispel myths about breast cancer and to create, I love this word intentional, an intentional environment where it's okay to talk about it. So let's welcome Nadia to the stage. I have a couple questions because I know that many of us have been affected either personally, individually, or within our family. Some of us immediate family that have suffered or has been diagnosed with breast cancer. And sometimes for African American women, especially, this is a subject we don't really like to talk about until maybe it's too late. So tell us a story about Pink Forever, its purpose. Tell us how we can become more familiar with this organization.
Well, thank you for having me
Yes.
first. Well, Pink Forever was founded in 2008 by my brother, John Miller. We just buried our sister at the age of 35. 2 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 28. And so while I was in treatment, I didn't see any brochures, any information about really anything that had a face on it that looked like mine.
Ooh.
I would often call my brother and talk or complain to him about this. So he has a background in the medical community. Long or the short of it is, I began to speak and teach for another national organization, but it just wasn't doing it. It still wasn't inclusive of women that look like us.
Yeah.
We founded the organization and we began to speak and teach here in Indianapolis.
I love it.
So over the past 15 years, we were known as Pink Forever Inc. And then last year merged with another organization. And now we're Pink Forever Ending Disparities with the entire continuum of care. So we focus on research, empowerment, support, and advocacy right here in Indianapolis.
Here in Indianapolis. Oh my God. How can we become more familiar with the organization? Because you're right, when we pick up documents and brochures, even when you walk into a doctor's office, right? We're looking for people who might look like us, who have shared experiences, even through something that is maybe seems common across all racial and ethnic groups. But I mean, this is a wonderful organization. I'm surprised I haven't heard of it.
Well, how we are, Pink Forever actually partners with hospital groups, really any major hospital group, IU Simon Cancer Center, Ascension St. Vincent, Community North, Community East, all of these and more, they're our partners. And so we have come alongside them, or they've come alongside us, number one, to develop information for their patients that is culturally responsive, actually.
I love that term.
So that... So you're right. So that the information speaks to them. You know, if you go somewhere and you see information, it doesn't speak to you, you're less likely to pick it up because you don't think it's for you. And so we're working with the medical community to continue to develop information, brochures, leaflets, pamphlets that have faces like ours on there. Not as if it was in the past where you would see possibly a 35-year-old Caucasian woman or older on there. And that is just not the picture of breast cancer, specifically Black breast cancer. Yeah. That's not the picture.
Well, you know, you said something at the beginning about your cancer journey, right? And I was surprised because you said 28 years old. Tell us about that story, because we think that cancer in and of itself is it's it's a disease for someone who's much older, but you were 28.
Yeah. I mean, back then, in 2007, I had an understanding because my sister had been diagnosed, but I still didn't think it could happen to me, even after she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And how I found my lump, I was in the shower one day, I was taking a shower and I felt a little odd, but my mind didn't jump to, you have breast cancer.
Yeah.
But what I did do, and only your mom can do this with you, I tell people, or a close sister, I said, hey, do you feel this? And she's like, I do. You need to make an appointment. Subsequently, over the appointments, I found out I had a malignancy, and I immediately had to go to work on that. And I think sometimes it is really being lost, specifically in the Black community, that this is real, and the numbers don't lie. In Marion County alone, it's a 41% death rate among women of color, not a diagnosis rate.
Wow.
And so these are the things that I think, in doing things like this to help get the word out so that folks understand being 28, being 27, being 19, and being diagnosed with breast cancer for Black women is not a fluke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think, so if you are listening to this podcast, know that you're never too young for those breast examinations that we all
Correct.
think is maybe a little goofy.
Mm-hmm.
It could be even, for those who are more on the modest side, might seem a little unmodest, but it really saved your life just being in the shower and doing that particular self-examination. And so you guys, if you're out there listening, do not, if you're a woman, you need to make sure that you continually do those self-examinations because you never know. And I think catching it early is key, right?
Yeah, early detection. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's really true. Early detection is the best protection because the bottom line is the number one risk factor to getting or having breast cancer is being a woman. And there's not anything we can do about that, right? That's your number one risk factor. You're a woman and you have breasts. So it puts you at risk. I think what I would love to encourage and continue to implore women is to take your body seriously and get to know your body very intimately and that it's okay. And so that when there's things like this to come up, there are resources available like our organization. If folks need a mammogram and they do not have insurance, Pink Forever provides those. If you are diagnosed with breast cancer and you need emergency assistance, this organization provides that.
Oh, I love
and
it.
So I think that just being proactive about your entire healthcare and intentional about your healthcare is really what will make the overall difference. There's a big difference between being diagnosed in a stage 1 cancer versus a stage 4 cancer.
So speak to the people out there who they're hearing this, right? And some of us, we have heard this over and over again, but tell us your journey from the idea of finding a lump and take us on that journey. And how have you done self-care through that journey?
Well, I will say that it was devastating. I mean, I attempt to be very transparent about it because it's not like running with ribbons. And there's not really anything very beautiful about the procedures and the processes and those ever looming appointments about wig appointments and choices. But the bottom line is that I had to decide. I had a 2-year-old daughter at home at the time, and I had to decide if I wanted to live. And so you talk about self-care. It was a mental game at this point, and I had to ensure that I began to not take no for an answer and reach out and find resources for myself if they weren't available, because I wanted to live. And that was the only thing that was in my mind. I wanted to go to the doctor, and I wanted to hear my doctor or my oncologist or my radiation therapist tell me, you're going to live. And so how you deal with that is, number one, taking charge. The only thing I had control over at that particular point is what I did next.
Yeah.
Right. And so how I got through my journey was to be very, very serious about, okay, the doctor said you have to do this. Nadia, check. You have to do that. And then also ensuring that second opinions. It's okay to get a second opinion, but get a second opinion, but move forward in some capacity to ensure that you are taking care of your mind and your body at the same time.
I love that, a second opinion. Making sure we're engaging with the medical profession the right way, and that we're not afraid or intimidated of it, right? Because that could mean the difference between life and death for us.
Yes.
And not be fearful of that. Well, Pink Forever, I love it because I know there are other organizations out there, but as you said, this organization was founded so that people of color, women of color, Black women particularly, can see themselves through this process.
Yes.
And I actually love the intentionality of that. And so tell us more about what you provide specifically from an organizational perspective, and also what events does Pink Forever host?
Well, what we provide, the organization provides, like I said, like emergency assistance for folks who are in active treatment for breast cancer.
Okay.
We also provide, the biggest thing is educational workshops and in small groups and work, church, home. They're custom made specifically for that. But we're not just a bunch of folks out here talking. We have the medical community, and then also we have the background to do so. Our executive director, her name is Lisa Hayes. She is an attorney, but she's also very, very serious about what she's serious about. She's also a 15-year breast cancer survivor as well.
Wow.
So there are women that are working within the organization. And then the board of directors as a whole, it's a bevy of folks. We got a pretty good lineup between medical professionals and the lay community. And so we're able to provide advocacy, and our partnerships are very, very strong in here in the community, so that we're able to provide those resources. And then we have an advocacy group. A new initiative with the American Cancer Society that we have is training advocates so that they can go out and that they can help women and assess where they are and kind of get them to where they need to be to help them navigate this, but also proactively. We have, just being very proactive.
Absolutely.
I would say the events that we just had one of our annual events. It's called the Stay Alive, Stay Alert, Stay Alive Breast Health Summit. We just had it over the weekend. It's a 2-day summit where we have a power party, which is really a great big support group, but it's a party where caregivers and survivors and can come together, and health and wellness. And so there's a little bit of Zumba, and then there's yoga and all that fun stuff. The next day, the medical community comes in, and you have things like Ask a Health Professional. Dr. Monet Bowling at Hendricks Regional is very
She's
good
a member of the sorority.
Okay, yes. So she was on deck actually Saturday morning, and she's a huge partner of the organization, has been for years. And so really, I think every hospital group was possibly there in some capacity teaching about what I really want to tell you is triple negative breast cancer. And that is something that that the audience needs to hear about, triple negative breast cancer, right? The most aggressive breast cancer. So we had workshops tailor-made for that, for not just for survivors to ask questions, but for anyone to come in and learn more about breast cancer and breast health. Of course, October is coming up, National Breast Health Awareness Month. And so every Tuesday, virtually, we'll have something called Pink Tea Time. And it's an opportunity. It's an hour session where Dr. Bowling's going to be teaching one of them, and other physicians here in Indianapolis will be teaching about whether it's healthy eating, whether it is being active. We have a couple of therapists coming in, all the while to kind of help the community, men and women, understand the impacts of breast cancer, but then also the prevention part. And then on October 30th here in Indianapolis, it's Pink Forever Day. It is really a whole day, and it's geared towards the proclamations on our website, but it is geared towards survivors and caregivers and celebrating life on that particular day. And it happens to be a Sunday on the 30th this year.
I love it. So if you're listening to this, we are highlighting an organization in one of our cities in Central Region in Indianapolis, Indiana, called Pink Forever. And I happened to be sitting right next. She came into the the podcast studio. So I get to see her live and in person. And it is wonderful, you guys, to see someone who loves our community really fight for the literacy and the information that we need so that we can live and that we can love. And so I want to know, if someone wanted to donate to Pink Forever, how do they do that?
Well, they can do it through our website. There's ways to give is on the website, and they can do it really through any mechanism. Also through corporations can also donate. They can donate through their employer.
Mhm.
They can donate that way, or at any event that we have. We're also located right here in Indianapolis, at 8770 Commerce Park Place. And
All
that's where
right.
we are.
So if you happen to be in Indianapolis, whether you are driving in for an event, whether you are here for a weekend, or whether you live here locally, please, please, please consider in your philanthropic choices that you might want to choose Pink Forever, because they're doing the good work of loving on our community, especially Black women, and the literacy when it comes to breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. So thank you so much for joining us today for our podcast. And let's go to our next segment.
TV coming at ya. What up, peeps? Join us. Love, life, and laughter. The point of it all. 'Cause if we don't have love, then nothing else really matters. Highs and the lows, see the joy that it brings. What up, peeps?
We have none other than Gabrielle Flowers. So if you have not followed her, or you are not following her on all the social media platforms, please go do so. I mean, she is reaching over 300,000 folks out there, and she does more than back the thing up,
Yes,
right? But
absolutely.
she's a wonderful wife, mother, influencer, and I would say I am just excited to call you my sorority sister.
Yes. Thank you.
Hey, Soror.
Hey, Soror.
And so really your influence is really, you're kind of an open book, just showing like your life and your lifestyle. Isn't that funny? 20 years ago, thinking about, showing all what you do in your family. Right.
Very taboo. Well, nobody's showing all of
no
that.
one was showing all of that.
The celebrities were starting to.
Yes.
But it's funny because it just kind of happened. It was a hobby of mine that turned into a career. Like, I had absolutely no idea that this was what it was going to be.
Really?
Absolutely. I went to TSU. Go Tigers. And and
HBCU in the house.
HBCU in the house. Graduated and moved to LA. I thought I was going to be an actress. So
you look like an actress. You look like an actress. I promise you, you do.
Actress, So I went, I did the whole struggling actress thing, and I was going to make it. That was my thing. And then I realized that I was just tired of being there, the rat race, the working. So I came back home, wanted to get an MBA. We were actually in the same MBA program at Indiana Wesleyan.
No, we were not.
Yes, we were class of 2009.
Yes,
we were. Class of 2009, Indiana Wesleyan.
So you can tell how focused I was.
You were very focused. I was not so focused. So did all of that, and then started a job and just didn't like it. I realized that corporate culture was not for me.
Okay.
And I needed an outlet.
Yep.
So I started YouTube. And it was like my hobby. It was, I'd go to work all day and I come home and I turn on the video. I had just went natural. I cut my hair off. And I was like, let me make these natural hair videos. And it just started from there. Then I met my husband. We got married and I started watching people vlogging on YouTube. And I was like, why don't we try this? These people are just living their life and showing it. And he was like, okay. I mean,
I was going to ask, like, how did the husband?
We were 1 month in. He was trying to please me. He was a newlywed. He was like, sure, you want to do this?
I love it.
Okay. And that's just where it started. And we grew our following. So these people have been with us since we've been a thing. They've seen our whole marriage, our children, like all of the things. It'll be 11 years in October.
Okay. So, I mean, your kids have grown up on YouTube. Like, we can watch that.
Yeah, from day one.
Okay, guys, you got to go out to YouTube and check this out, right? You can see the kids grow up and everything. Okay. So speaking about that, like, you're an open book.
Mm-hmm.
How do you practice intentional living? Because when I watch it, I'm like, they have so much fun. they just look like, oh my God, they wake up and it's roses. They're like going through the field of roses, like,
that's
smelling lemons when they wake up. And I mean,
I think that's a common misconception because I think we forget that social media is a highlight reel. So although we do show our daily lives, it's very authentic. It's not scripted at all, but you just don't see everything.
Yeah.
So that's something that once it did become a career, we had to become intentional about, okay, what do we want to share and what do we feel like is reserved just for us?
Yeah.
So we made it our mission to share love, life, and laughter. Positivity is what we're all about because the world is full of negativity. You can see that anywhere. I know. So we don't want you to come and watch Gay Babe TV and feel downtrodden and negative and sad. I mean, life happens, yes, but our goal is to show the positive parts of life. But that doesn't mean that's all of life.
Okay, so I mean, how much effort does it take? I'm thinking about even setting up a podcast, the equipment, the scripting, and all of that. And I love what you said, that you made a choice. You and your family, your husband said, this is what's available for the public, and this is what's not available to the public. So how the preparation of all of this, talk about that.
So in the beginning, it was kind of just fly by night. It just happened. So we would show some things and then we'd get some feedback and it's like, okay, we probably don't want to show that again. And then, just going through certain things where you don't want to talk about it while it's happening. We went through infertility and we made the decision to wait until we had got on the other side to talk about it. So when we were pregnant, we announced the pregnancy and then we talked about how we got there. But it was a whole journey that we just documented for later and we released it when we felt comfortable. But you just really have to think about, is this helping the conversation? Is this helping someone smile? Is this helping someone be inspired or motivated? Or is it not? And we kind of have to think about that. And the power of editing is great because we can just film and then we can make that decision in post. Like, you know what? Let's just take that out. It's not. I
love it. I love it. I mean, technology has come so far. When I was growing up, we didn't even have cell phones.
That, right?
The idea that you can splice things together, like by the time you see this broadcast,
it's
it's going to put together. Yeah. So I love it. So you are expanding your social media presence online to what they're saying, Gab Fix Fitness.
Yes, so Gabe Fix Fitness.
Gabe, okay.
Yes, because it's Gabriel. So
Gabe, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't like to correct people because it gets old, but
no, you correct people.
It's Gabe.
Because people call me Kiana, and I'm like, no, it's Kiana. I know my mom was and my dad. I don't know what they were thinking when they spelled my name and how to pronounce that, but I get it.
I get it because my mom was against Gabrielle. She wanted Gabriel. So here I am. Yeah. So you
like the angel.
Like the angel. That's exactly what she says. Okay. Like the angel. So yes. So I have been on a weight loss journey, I'd say my whole life. I've been one of those people who have gone up and down. I've tried this, I've tried that. Every diet out. Thank you. Every diet out there, I have tried it. And I started coaching after I had my son in 2013. And then, life happened, gained the weight, lost the weight again. And then after having my daughter in 2018, I got really serious about it and more so about the nutrition that goes into it and not just the fat diets and let's cut out this and let's stop this. So I decided to get my certification and became a nutritionist and started Gabe Fix Fitness. So I help women lose weight sustainably. So without all of the crash dieting and the cutting things out and enjoying the things you love, but still seeing progress.
I love it. And I think a lot of women who are listening to this podcast can relate, right? The whole weight loss journey has really captivated a lot of our life, right? Our whole life, right? Yes. To the point it could be paralyzing. And what I've learned over the last 10 years, it really is a lifestyle.
It is.
It has to be a lifestyle. And you have to live your life intentionally in this manner for it to matter. And so I really appreciate that. And I mean, someone who looks as good as you do, right? To share that and to say that it's been a journey. It's been a journey for a long time, right? And that some of us don't like talking about that, weight loss, or I call it healthy lifestyle journey, because I think when we start talking about it being weight loss,
it gets a little lost.
It does. It gets lost. And really, I think even me, I had to say, this is I have to live healthy.
Yes.
I have to live because, like you, we have children that we want to see grow up, graduate, get married, have their own children, etc. But we have to be here to do that. So I love that. So when is this rolling out? Tell us more.
So it is already out. I started it in 2019 after I had my daughter, and I actively coach people. I have a program called Fix My Eats, where it's a group coaching program where I teach women just how to manage what they're eating, what they're eating through macros or calorie counting, but just kind of looking at it differently and being intentional about the other things that go into a healthy lifestyle, your sleep, and, what are the habits? Are you drinking enough water? Are you active? Like, it's not all just what you're eating, but those other things matter as well. So I do run that, probably like 4 times a year. And then I do individual, like one-on-one coaching throughout the year with that as well.
Oh, so, I love that. Yeah. I can't even believe I'm sitting across from you because I'm such a fan. I like a girl crush or something, but I really love this. And I see a lot of people though, wanting to get into the influencer business, right?
Yes.
I even try to stay up. I really try to increase my Instagram presence.
But that's a good thing.
I mean, because I was a little old school on Facebook, and it took my nephew, who's 30 years old, to say, he calls me TT. TT, no one's on Facebook. I'm like, well, all my friends are still on Facebook.
Right.
And so, but I've tried to migrate to Instagram. So I don't think I'm going to be one of those social media influencers. However, for those that are trying to get into the business, what is some advice you can give them?
So the first piece of advice that I always give people is to just start.
Just go, right?
That's with anything.
And put it out there. And then you see what sticks. And I think a lot of us get really nervous or anxious to just start, right? And we are so brilliant and gifted. And you'll be surprised what people want to consume, what they want to know about you. They are... they believe that they trust in you, right?
Absolutely.
And you'll be surprised what people trust in you. But you just got to start, because there's an audience out there for everyone.
For everyone. Absolutely.
Yes. So where can we find you on social media?
So you can find me on YouTube at Gabe Babe TV, The Gabe Fix. I have a podcast with my husband, Let's Make Out. But I am Gabe Flowers. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We make out all things love, life, and laughter. That's like our tagline. So we talk about all of it. But I'm Gabe Flowers on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me.
So guys, go out there and follow this beautiful woman and her family. She's an open book, but more importantly, she's giving out some good life lessons, right? Some things that we can laugh about, some things we can feel proud about, some things that we can cry about together, right? And we can learn the lessons through what you're putting out there in social media. So, and for those that want to be an influencer, just start, as she said, just start doing something. I think most of us own a camera phone or iPhone. Love iPhone. However, some of those Android people out there, you can do either one. I think Android can, do something. I don't know. However, we know that people have the equipment to get started. So just get started in life. Make sure that you don't allow your life just to lead you, but you lead life. So thank you for coming on this podcast. And thank you. Oh my God, I love this. All right. Well, thank you for listening to our inaugural episode of On Target Podcast, where we are focusing on all things Central Region, our impact, our exposure, and our influence, where we are focusing also on leading, loving, and living out our intentionality. And so in our next episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing our international president and CEO of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Danette Anthony Reed. And so make sure you check back with us where we get to ask her a few questions that have come in from the members across the Central region. And we'll get to know a little bit about the woman in charge of leading almost 300,000 women who call themselves members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Now, please join our Team Ready movement, and you can join. You don't even have to be a member to join this Team Ready. So subscribe to our podcast and make sure you tell a friend. And you can listen to this podcast on a lot of platforms, or whatever your favorite platform is. We will be out there. And just know, we are Central Region, a confident and captivating region. Check us out on aka1908.com/central for all public updates where you can find what Central Region and its members are doing to impact all mankind. Thank you and be blessed.